President Biden now heading to Europe, making it his first visit since the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war. The president's top national security advisor just briefing reporters ahead of the trip, some calling notable for not only what he said, but what he didn't say. Newsmax chief White House correspondent James Rosen was one of those who questioned Jake Sullivan. He joins us now. He is live on the North Lawn. James, good morning.
Sean and Emma, good morning to you. For President Biden, the foreign trip on which he has just embarked really presents a difficult challenge for him, preserving the unity between the U.S. and its European allies at the same time as he seeks some kind of end game to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, a development likely to remain outside his grasp. The president boarded Air Force One about 35 to 40 minutes ago. His schedule in Brussels when he arrives there is jam-packed, including on his first day 3 sessions, one each with NATO, the G7, and the European Council, and then touching down the second day in Warsaw, Poland, a NATO member state that has absorbed the majority of Ukrainian refugees. But what exactly the Allies' objective in the war right now is, as they pump hundreds of billions into a conflict so bloody and mismatched, has now come into question.
The policy of this government that Ukraine should win this, it should eject Russia and regain its sovereignty and its freedom.
We've said from the outset that we are unwavering in our commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Within the internationally recognized borders of Ukraine, we remain committed to that.
As a senior foreign policy aide a decade ago during the Arab Spring, Jake Sullivan watched as President Obama declared that Bashar al-Assad's days in power were numbered, only to see Assad outlast Mr. Obama in office to this day. With President Biden now branding Russian President Vladimir Putin a war criminal, I wondered what Sullivan would say about the Russian president's prospects for survival in office.
Are Vladimir Putin's days in power numbered?
From our perspective, what happens with respect to the Russian political system is something that will be worked out inside Russia.
One final note, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki announced yesterday she has tested positive for the coronavirus. And while she had no direct contact with President Biden, and he has since tested negative, unfortunately for Jen Psaki, she is not among the entourage traveling with the president on this very important trip overseas. Of course, all of us here wish Jen Psaki the speediest recovery. Sean and Emma.
All right, James Rosen reporting there at the North Lawn for us. James, thank you.
Turning now to our southern border crisis, our next guest is demanding answers from the Federal Aviation Administration on blocking news outlets from using drones to film the southern border crisis, saying in a letter part, quote, the FAA's decision to abruptly reverse course on the legality of banning media drones raises questions about potential political interference at the agency to hide President Biden's border crisis from the public. Joining us now to discuss, Republican Congressman from Pennsylvania, member on the Oversight and Reform Committee, Fred Keller. Congressman, thank you for coming on today. I know a lot of Americans are interested in what's happening at our southern border as we do continue to receive numbers of illegal crossings coming in month by month, and they keep going up. Tell me about why you're taking interest in this FAA policy and what concerns you the most about it.
Well, what we've seen from the administration from day one is mismanagement of policy, and then they try to cover it up. We see this with they were at Del Rio, Texas, when they had the restriction on the flight of drones and the reporting from news agencies. I saw it when I was down at El Paso, and they were removing people from the intake facility there and putting them on buses and shipping them to different parts of the country. So we see it happening, and we ask the question then, are you seeing fewer people come across the border, or are you just clearing them out of the facilities more quickly? And they said, we're not seeing a let up into people coming across. And we saw that by Customs and Border Patrol's own numbers this past February of 174,000 people encounters that we had. And that was up 60-some% from the previous year. Mm-hmm. And then they're being, and take a look at what's happening with the unaccompanied minors, and we'll talk about that for a minute. The people that are helping these children unaccompanied from their family members get across the border aren't good people, and are taking advantage of these kids. Then they come into the country, and the Biden administration the Office of Refugee Resettlement is then placing these with families or sponsors. And we came to find that these sponsors don't even have to be in the United States legally, and in many cases aren't. So we introduced legislation, and to make sure that we could make sure that anybody who's coming in here, one, is not being placed with somebody that's going to continue to take advantage of them if they're an unaccompanied minor, and also make sure that they're going to show up for their court appearance. That's not happening. So the Safe Sponsor Act is something we're doing to hold this administration accountable. They're just trying to cover things up, and it needs to stop.
Our border agent reporter, Jason Jones, has been stationed with Border Patrol agents, but he brought us a story just the other day of a toddler who was seen crossing the border alone. She did have a wristband so as to indicate her connection to her parents or someone having paid for her journey. But the fact that she was traveling solo, lots of questions about where she was coming from and where she's intended to go next. I wanted to ask you again about this decision to limit the use of drones. As I was saying, Jason Jones, sometimes he's able to go up in a helicopter so he can kind of give us a bird's eye view as to what's happening at the border. What's been the reasoning as to why these drones that news organizations use to showcase a bird's eye view of a situation, why are they being limited?
Well, we haven't been given the answers on that. In fact, the documents we got were heavily redacted. But we did find out that the initial thought from the FAA was that it would not be legal to do it. And then after some conversation with somebody at Customs and Border Patrol, we Homeland Security, they had some conversations, and guess what? They reversed their decision. And we're asking why that decision was reversed. And we'd like to see the documents unredacted and have all the information to find out get to the bottom of why they're trying to cover this up. And again, that tends to be an MO for this administration of how they operate. They have poor policies, and then they try to cover those policies up. We need to get to the bottom of it so we find solutions and not cover-ups for what's happening at our southern border, because it is impacting the United States, because there are fentanyls coming across the border, and we know we've seized more of that than ever before. You have people that are being trafficked coming across our border, and we need to take care of it. And the excuses aren't making it. So what we want to do is we want to get to the bottom of why they're trying to hide this, and then make sure that the policy is reversed. When I was at the border, we were told that the Trump policies were working. So why doesn't the Biden administration simply reactivate the Trump policies, the remain in Mexico, continue building the wall, all the things we know that work? And, for some reason they don't want to do it. And we're going to try and get to the bottom of this and make them do their job.
All right, trying to find some answers, perhaps more transparency as well. Congressman Fred Keller joining us this morning. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.